Hello Monsterlings, this is the Ozmonster once with a new type of video today. Recently in my area there was a Comic-Con. Shout out to all the people that were there and all the costumes that were there. The past couple of days I've got a ton of footage. I might actually post some of that up. As long as I don't get sued, because some of them are Q&As. Whoops. Okay, I'm getting way too into detail on that. I should keep my identity a secret. Wait, I didn't even talk about myself. Never mind. Okay, well, pretty much on the final day of Comic-Con, I didn't have the energy to go, so I just gave one of my relatives a video camera so they could record an event for me, which was the only reason why I would ever go back to Comic-Con on the final day, because it was only there. But ironically, the people for that event didn't show up, so a bunch of people just got up there and started giving their own talks about it, which will be coming up after I'm done with this. And since rambless monologuing. Okay, anyway. So pretty much you'll be learning a lot about how, just like in the title of the video that I posted up, a lot how to create video games from a few websites, and also some features, and pretty much hopefully you'll find this advice pretty good if you ever want to actually start creating video games yourself in the future with some of the programs that have been provided for you, or just broaden your mind a little bit more. So anyway, let the video begin.
Out there, a lot of the game platforms, a lot of the major game development work is done in C programming. So how many people in this room are familiar with C programming? If you're playing console games, the really hard console games like Halo, Call of Duty, those level of games are programmed and coded with C because they need speed and they need size. But the cool thing about it is that the way that things are developing now as it relates to programming is that you don't have to, and by the way, C coding is a little bit hard. So if you've played with different coding languages, the language is a little bit hard to get and a little bit hard to understand. But there are other gaming platforms exist where you can do game development on. It's not going to be like one of the games that you would go out and buy from GameStop, but it would still give you pretty good gaming effects and pretty good animation. And some of those other platforms, or like Unity is what they were talking about today, you don't have to know C to work in those game platforms. A lot of the game platforms where you can work in, which are a lot easier to work in, require you to work in higher level languages. Like, for example, there are game platforms that you can work with in JavaScript. There are game platforms that you can work with in Python. There are game platforms that you can work with in C#. And I'll jump in if you want to. No, go ahead. No, you just jump in. Just jump in because these are mic'd up. So jump in. This is just a.
Yes, please.
Also, this is just from personal experience. Whenever you first start, try to some of the basicer ones. Like, don't just jump straight into C because
it's hard.
Because the smallest character change, a space here or a period here, will change everything. It will even make some parts of the game not even work closely to how they're supposed to. I can use this as a bit of a reference. A few years ago, a Google employee was typing in for deleted sites. He typed in a backslash instead of a forward slash, and this made Google think that every single site that he listed under the backslash was non-existent. So if you went to Google at that time and tried to type in a website, it would say, this website does not exist. So even these tiny, minute changes can make the world just go crazy.
Could I say something in defense of C#? We've been developing for a couple of years now on Unity, and we really love Unity. Unity is easy to use. It is perfect for beginners. And there is a great community out there, and they will help you. They will give you advice on how to learn coding. It isn't that hard to learn coding.
No,
you just have to spend time with it.
But for me, again, this is just my personal experience. I went into Java because of game sites like Newgrounds, where they kind of just, if you do need the community there, and Newgrounds, if you do go on Newgrounds, they do have a lot of Unity games as well that you can make. But if you go on Newgrounds and you start talking to the other game designers on there, they all will hop in there and help you with your Java coding and stuff like that. And there's even a massive community in there with Unity. You can just go over there and start talking to the game developers there. And I know of quite a few people that hop from Newgrounds to Steam and stuff like that and start making. Yeah, for a good game.
What kind of platforms would you recommend for beginners or for people who haven't even tried the feet class?
I think you made a good point, and she made a good point. I just wanted to jump back in to kind of clarify. It's not that C is so hard that you can't do it. Any of the programming languages you can do, right? You just need someone to guide you. You need to understand the fundamentals. Like, it's kind of funny, if you understand programming, the basic things in programming are loops. So you make stuff repeat, there are conditions. If you get to more advanced stuff, they have things that are called objects. You have arrays. They're basic things that are that go across the different programming platforms. So I apologize if it seemed disparaging or discouraging for me to say that C was super, super hard. It's not. It just takes time to learn. Some of the easier things you can learn, though, before you go to a C, before you go to a C#, before you go to a Java, they're higher level languages like JavaScript, which is the way that you interact with your websites through, and there's Python, which is higher level. But it's not that you can't do those. It's not that you shouldn't do C# or whatever. If you wanted to play around, you can start at one of the higher ones, and then you can go wherever you want to go, or you can jump directly into the Javas, the C, because the earlier you invest time in those more complex languages, the more value you're going to get out of it. Yeah.
Yes. Another option, if you go to Unity, you can use Playmaker. You have to purchase this in the asset store, but they have sales all the time. It's really
You
good.
should really come up here. I know. Listen, I don't code all the time. I'm an EE, and I don't really code a lot. But if you have any experience, it's good to just come up and share.
Thank you.
What's the gaming platform that we use? 3D Blitz. We use something called 3D Blitz, and 3D Blitz is they open sourced it about I think a year ago, and it's basically done in basic programming. So it's very, very easy to learn. You just have to go and find the books, and you have to connect in the community to do it. But you can make some pretty good two-dimensional and three-dimensional games. So me and my son have been playing with Unity for most of the summer. So class.
My name is Laura, and
Hi, Laura.
my family and I have a company that we work together. We have a few outside people from all over the world that work on a team with us. We've been working with Unity for a couple of years now, and both of us have experience in other the indie games that we've worked on. Unity is a really great thing to use for beginners. It's very easy to use. It's very the whole interface is really easy to use. And yes, one second. And like I was saying about Playmaker, the asset store is wonderful. You can buy visual scripting and use that without even coding at all. And that's a great way to learn. And there's all kinds of tutorials and videos and training and sessions. It's really a great thing to use. It's great to use any kind of game platform, not just Unity. They're all good. It's fun. We've had a blast doing this. A lot of fun. I'm sorry, somebody over here first.
You guys said they made side missions in the game, like Lego Marvel superhero that game, and they made side missions so you could get more minifigures and the graphics.
That depends on the developer.
Yeah.
Side missions.
They said,
Someone asked about.
It would be easier for the player to complete the game early because it's like Medal of Honor. The second level is the hardest thing at the end.
Yeah.
It's all about the
He was asking about side.
I eventually want to my own. One second.
The actual engine the game's made in. Yeah.
And you had a question?
Is Unity useful for anything besides games?
Yeah.
It is. I have 2 teenage daughters that are making comic books with it that will be interactive. They'll be able to publish on Android or Apple, and it's wonderful for platforms. There's so many different platforms. It's really a good engine. I really enjoyed it. We tried Unreal, and it was a little too heavy for the market we're going for. You would need much better computers, while Unity you can get a broad range of different computers for people who might be wanting to play on laptops and things like that. But they're all really good, and it's a fun hobby, and it's a fun way to move into being more professional and actually selling games.
Now, I have a question. How would one get on Unity?
Yeah, where do you get it from?
You go to unity.com, unity3d.com.
Unity3D.com.
And if you're on there on the forums and you you want some help, my name is Tila on the forums, and I'd be glad to help you or guide you. I am not a coder, I am a designer. I have coders on my team, so if you need help. But anyway.
No, thank you.
You, sir, with the blonde hair.
Does it cost money, she asked.
Unity, that's a good question. Unity has different tiers. The complete engine is free, absolutely free. You can use it as much as you want. It's really great. It's a complete, full engine. It used to be that the free version was not complete. Now it is. It is the same exact engine as the Pro license, which costs a lot more. The only difference is that you have to have a splash screen on the front. There's a splash screen, a little Unity 3D thing, which I don't mind because I like Unity. And I'm trying to think, what was the other? Oh, it has a light screen, on it when you use the editor instead of a dark screen. Pro is much more expensive, but the free version is free and it's the best thing to start with. So I really recommend it.
One second, hold on a second. Can we just have some other people talk about other platforms, I think? Because I talked about Blitz. You talked about Unity. You exhibit to the platform you work with.
I just don't remember the assets.
Personally,
It's not clicking.
Oh, there you go. Personally, right now, I'm actually in college right now, studying for game design, but right now I'm also taking classes for web development and stuff like that. And I'm right now working on coding for web development. So I know it's kind of like, it's different from game development. At the same time, eventually you're gonna have to learn the things that all come together, because it's all gonna come together at one point. So it's like some of the things that you'll do for web development will fall into game development as well. You talk about Flash.
Actually, I have a quick thing I could say.
Yes, please.
There is something that our college actually does. The college I came from was from South Florida, like all the way down in Sebring. That they do some years. It's called 1 hour of coding, which doesn't take long. It's really just 1 hour. Basically, what you do, you make a junk site. Basically, you don't need to buy the URL for anything. You just make it a random site, and all you do is go in there, code it. They'll tell you how to code. You can go online and look this up. Like look up 1 hour coding. It'll tell you like the basics of coding, how to get the numbers, colors, fonts right. And just try this, and it will get your feet wet in the coding if you want to get that side of the game development. I mean, like you can use Unity and get the assets and stuff like that. But if you don't understand the basics of the game and you don't know what's going on under the hood of the game, if something breaks, you're not going to be able to fix it. And that's just what I want to say.
You.
Yes, I had another question. The developers made a game so kids can make their own mod for Minecraft, and the developers said there would have to be something so they could make their own, so they wouldn't have to buy random mods. That would be
So if the games had like the ability to modify itself?
yeah. So the player would be able to make his own mod, but he would have to ask the developers if he could use something from there to make it.
Can I just jump in? So what's kind of interesting about programming is that usually once people write a game, it's kind of closed. So once they write that code and they do what's called compile it, and it's in its finished form, you usually can't make edits to it or do anything. You get something that's kind of like standalone, right? You can't do it like a car, almost like a car, I don't want to say that. But they do have games where you can have what are modules. So a good game that has module functionality into it would be something like a Minecraft.
The Fallout series and the Elder Scrolls series are good bases for what he's talking about.
Yeah.
They allow their.
I'll let you go. I just want to explain the high level. So they do have games that will let you actually go in and modify the games, which are called mods. Because I don't know if everyone in the room knows what a mod is. So they'll let you go in and they'll let you build functionality into the game and specialize it. Minecraft, which is what it sounds like you're talking about, is one of the games that allows mods. And if you're working in Minecraft, in order for you to do a mod, the language that you have to work in has to be Java. Now, other games do mods too, so why don't you talk about that?
Well, there are some games that are called open source games, which means they allow you to go into their code and poke around if you want to. These games are like these are big companies, by the way. These are Bethesda, Fallout 4. Everybody knows that when that came out because commercials were everywhere. But these games allow them to go and code and you can drop new characters into the game, put new missions, side missions, items, guns, armors. Well, these open source games, the company knows that you want more out of their game, and this isn't the company being lazy and saying, "Oh, we don't want to make this game. We don't want to make this for you." This is them, and this is something they've actually said. This is they want you to get interested in making games for the future. So the game, so people like don't age out of the series, like age out of the companies, and be like, "Oh, we can no longer make games because no one's interested in making these." So if you ever just want to like try modding games, I would recommend Steam because the community right there. If you go around in the community, it's very nice. It's just go to like if you just go to Google or just Steam and then go to the community because they have a community tab on there, and you can just talk to the community and the modders. There are some like every other group out there that are just dirty, but like a lot of them will help you as long as you are talking to them. Like another one for like the elders, the Bethesda games is what was the site?
The
Nexus. The Nexus, but
Nexus mods.
Yeah, the Nexus. If I remember correctly, I don't do the Nexus, but I think does it require an account?
I had
to pay for it?
you know I had Nexus. It's a bit twofold. At the first half of it, like there is a site and you can download the mods from. You can download mods directly from it. I had in that case it would be like a manual install where you manually have to go into the code and you have to manually install the mod into it. But they also have a program that comes with that if you register with them, that you can then download it's for free. This registration is free. You can download a program that essentially syncs with the game, and then you can just go to automatic install from like the website. It'll open up the app, and then it'll download the mod into it, and just instead of starting up the game, instead of booting like Fallout EXE, you would boot the Nexus Mod Manager app, and then choose the game, choose the apps, and then hit run, and it'll kick up the game with the mods. It's kind of it's a lot of ease of convenience, and that's kind of as far as I know.
I would tell you, I think the thing, I want to get out of here, but I think that, I'll leave it to you guys, but I think the thing that would kind of be really helpful to you if you're looking at game design, realize that the game design typically has two components to it. It has a programming component to it, and it has a graphics component to it. And what's important to know about the graphics component to it is that you'll usually need to use software that's specifically built for graphics. So examples of softwares that you might begin to play with if you want to begin to make like a pretty cool looking game is Maya is one program. Another program is called Blender, right? So if you go to Maya.com, I think it's Maya.com or Blender, but just Google Maya and Google Blender. Those will give you the way for you to construct your characters. So what's interesting about the game design is that people think that you usually just do everything in one spot. And with some game platforms you can, they'll let you do it, but typically you do games in pieces. You'll do your character design using like a Maya or a Blender, and you'll export the characters, and then you'll do the game design of whatever type of engine you're going to work with, whether that engine is going to be Real or Blitz or Unity or whatever that engine's going to be. And you pick the community that you look at it. Just go online and do game development, look at the different platforms and begin to look at the code, look at the community, see if you can make sense of it. There are lots of YouTube videos that are out there that you can look at that will walk you through how the code works so you can understand it, so you can get an introduction to it today without having to have someone actually sit there and guide you through it step by step. So then the next cool thing is that learn one of those tools, the 3D modeling tools, learn a game development platform, and you pretty much have your basics to do games. The cool thing about that is once you start, pick some place to start and just start. So pick some type of simple, easy game to write. A lot of websites in the different platforms will have a base game that they tell you to build. And a lot of times the game seems cheesy, right? So you'll look at a game and it may have a guy who moves across the screen and jumps, or a Pac-Man, or maybe a Space Invaders. And it's not as exciting as the games you may play in the store, but if you take the time to write that basic game, to understand the coding mechanisms in it, to understand the graphics that are using it, what happens is that translates you to be able to make your own games. but you have to have something that acts as a skeleton or base that you kind of use to get a grasp or understanding of it. And then once you've invested in any of these platforms and you understand how you design your games from a graphics perspective, how you build your games from a basic code perspective, that knowledge carries over. So when you want to do some of the more complex stuff that you would see like in the C world with those the console games, you'll be able to do it. It will translate. There are things like objects, there are things like inheritance, arrays, all those different things that you have in these different game platforms that you work with, you'll pick up and they'll translate to other places. So that's what I wanted to say.
Something I want to add is when you're picking your programming platform, do some research before you pick it, because there's lots of them out there depending what you're going to program for. I've been doing website development and programming for over 15 years. My specialty is PHP and Python, and I could design games for a website, but the coding that I'm doing there doesn't always translate to a portable device or to a Unity type device. If you're coding in JavaScript, that'll work on some devices and not others. If you're using ActionScript, which is Flash, that's great for creating games that'll play on a web browser or on a Windows PC, but when you translate over to iDevices, to Apple devices, they don't always work well with Flash. So you want to find a programming language that's going to be universal across all your devices, something a C or a Java. Those programming languages are pretty universal. There might be small changes, but when you go with something more specific, such as an Android device, you might want to say, well, I can learn JavaScript and create a game in this sense. That'd be nice and easy to convert or program. And it will be. JavaScript is pretty easy to learn, but you're not to have the speed that you're going to have if you use a higher level programming like C language or C Sharp. And you just want to do your research and find something that's going to be compatible on all the platforms that you're going to want to be programming on.
Nice costume.
1 second, just to add to that, you're going to have to learn multiple programming languages, so be prepared to do that. Whatever you learn, learn the basics of it so you can look at another programming language and pick it up, because you're right. The programming languages kind of work for certain devices really well, so be specific. Thank you.
And something quick I just wanted to add, and not all the games that you try to create is going to be a big hit. Just try to make something like, if anything, just try to make stuff like slowly but surely you'll get somewhere, you know? Don't try to go off and make something so big right off the bat. Just try to go slow and eventually you'll get to where you want to be.
And sometimes from what I remember hearing someone talking about, like sometimes the great high concepts, sometimes like spending all your energy and time doing that, where let's throw birds at pigs makes millions.
Yeah, exactly. Flappy Birds.
Exactly.
If you're just starting out on coding, I'm homeschooled, so when I do that, I usually get off and there's usually a link I can click and it takes me to a site. On that site, there is games. There's one of these games that I go on a lot. It's one of those coding games. You click it. It's pretty much one of those. You click it, the guy does it. Like you were saying, with the guy walks and you go through and there's different levels. You start out stage 1. You have to make him like turn left and then turn right and then jump. But he has to make walking, and it keeps on getting progressively harder. You, sir.
Like the Minecraft world where it says jump, go backwards.
Pretty much, yeah. But it would be more like, it would be, say, a guy walking down a street. Or sometimes it would give you the bird's eye view of, say, a block, and then you'd have a guy walk up and pick it up and then move it. And you just go through the motions and you get progressively better until it moves on to the next game. And then you go better, next game. It just keeps on going.
Do you know the name of this?
Oh, it's like...
Is it Scratch? Is it Scratch?
I think it's Scratch, Scratch programming.
Sounds like Scratch, yeah.
I think that, but it already has the backgrounds and noises and all that laid out for you. You just have to make the guy move.
A lot of schools now are starting to use Scratch as their primary training language. My son's going to 8th grade. They've been teaching him since 6th grade to use Scratch to the programming languages. And when you start programming, the first thing you're ever going to do in programming, regardless of what program you write, is going to be a Hello World program. Yep. And that's just to output something to the screen to show you how easy it is to use that language. Every language does it, and it's pretty much 2 or 3 lines of code. And I always hear talk about, well, I use this language and there's this great support based on the web for me, or I use this one. Every language is going to have that. You go on and you Google C# support, you're going to find tons of support out there. There are meetup groups for almost every programming language, so you can go and actually meet people in Orlando or Tampa or whatever big city is near you. So regardless of what you choose, there's always going to be a support base there for you to help you move along with your programming language.
If you're using what I was just talking about, it has repeat too. You can use repeat at multiple times, and that kind of teaches you to use repeat, and it's easier. So.
I'm sorry to just hop over, but this comes with something that you really do need to understand about coding and stuff like that. If you're going to the basic, coding is simply a lot of repetition. It's not. You're not going to use this one line one time. If you're going to use a line, you're going to use it thousands and thousands of times if you're lucky. Millions if you're not. But it's the slightest things that will get you to code when you're coding. To be like, everybody thinks, oh, I can just do this, and the computer's going to let me make a game like, one of these big three, the games that show EA and all that stuff, companies. No, they take years to make big games, but like little Flash games, if you knew what you're doing, you can make it maybe within a day. This is why I started out with Flash and Java, because Flash has been around for a long time now, so there's plenty to know about it. I mean, all the programming has been around for a long time now, but really Flash, it's such an open thing that people use. You can really just find and help people. Like he said, there's those meetups where you can just talk about coding, which I really do recommend you go to these kind of things, because if you're truly interested in coding, you need to get somebody that knows, or if you're not living anywhere that somebody knows, you have to go through trial and error. You have to do work. It's not just gonna fall into your lap like everybody thinks it does when it comes to gaming. You guys.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, so when you sit there and just for coding basis, it's it's not something that's gonna be impossible. And when this has been said
You'll
a
get
lot,
frustrated.
and it's yes, you will be. There's times that you're gonna get frustrated. There's times it's gonna be
There's
you don't want to
times
do it
you want to
anymore.
throw your computer across the room.
It gets difficult. It does get difficult, and eventually you're gonna get the hang of it. And you just gotta keep on trying and keep on going with it. And honestly, for me, copy and paste is your best friend when it comes to doing the same thing over and over again. Because you don't want to turn the same thing over and over again.
A, B, C, D,
I mean, that's just how my experience with that is you really don't want to sit there and just manually continue typing the same thing over and over and over and over. It just gets
I'm gonna just
repetitive.
go walk 1 foot, walk 1 foot, walk 1 foot, over and over and over and over for thousands of times, maybe, for a little bit of animation.
Yeah, what was it?
So you were saying something about the Call of Duty series. It starts off easy on the first mission, and then it gets all the way down to the...
Yeah, second Angry Birds, when they're still on the Earth, where there's level 1, level 2. That's pretty much what I'm talking about. Because there's this one, a dog gets lost from its family, and you have to make it walk down the street, then you make it walk down the street and then bark. Then you make it walk down the street, and then it gets progressively harder. Because it'll always go back to the last one. It'll go walk 3 feet, bark, and then bark again, and then it'll go walk 3 feet, bark, and then jump on your hind legs. Bark, walk, bark. See, it gets harder because you have to remember what you did last time. Because the dog's pretty much chasing after the car, which its family's in. So then you get to the end, and then it's over. You won, and you've learned repetition. It gets kind of boring between the middle.
Something I want to go on what Jay had said earlier is that some games, especially like the Flash games, you build in a few days. Some other games might take years to build. A lot of these big games that you see out there, they're not built by one person. They're built by a whole team of people. You have the graphic people, you have the programming people, and you don't just have one of each. You have several people that are working on these programs. So something that you're going to have store quality, like an Xbox One game, you're probably not to end up building that yourself. You're going to have a full team that you're working with to build that level of quality of the game.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but everything. If you think that you don't need communication skills between people to get a game done, this is severely limited thinking. You need to be able to communicate exactly what you're thinking to another person to get these games. If you're going to use big groups through. If you don't know good at, like me, I kind of stumble along my words, as you've seen. But like, if you're not good at saying exactly what you want, work on it. I mean,
say you're playing Modern Warfare, and there's guys coming through a building, and you're like, flank them around the right, and I'll go left, and we'll meet them off in the middle, and one guy will go through the back door, and let's just get them in the middle, and let's do this.
Yeah, like that. Like that's what a team. You just need to be able to do your teamwork. And you can go ahead and go over your team, but I mean, like, even though that you have a massive team, you could have a massive team working on a project.
Like 30 people.
You could even have more than 30 people working on a single project with these big games, and it still takes years. Because what most people don't think about game development, even, and I know I shouldn't be going to the company side of this thing, but because people are here for the coding, but like the smallest things, even like using a different engine, you would have to go back and rewrite everything. And even though that people like talk about, oh, why is this game delayed? Maybe because the team that was coming back over the
put in a backslash when they were supposed to put in a
forward
dash.
slash, or like they had the backup team looking over the program and see that they messed up something.
Because one thing that's really easy to do is when you're adding something later on, is you could write something for a year, it works perfectly, and then you go to add something else in there, and you put a variable or something that has already been used, and somewhere along that whole year's work is now broken. And then you have to troubleshoot and go back and find out what you did to make that, what was working, no longer work.
And this
Sorry, you go.
this is what this famous day one patch thing is. This means the game developers finished the game and put it out for distribution, but found out that there were bugs and that they messed up. So that's just them going like, okay, we messed up, now we have to fix what we did.
Has anyone heard of the Henry Stickmin games?
Yes.
You have?
Yeah.
You know how he runs through and you have to choose what he does and all that? Well, picking off different routes like that takes even more time. Because someone may click the jackhammer to get through the wall, but you could have used the TNT, and it just goes off, and that makes it even harder. So every time you click, that's a different,
it's a different bunch of calculations the game has to make.
Yeah, because that's animation, sound, texture, yeah. All those things that they did, and you have to do it again. Because say it's incorrect, like you're supposed to use jetpack, but you use rope. Then it'll send you back, and it has to do all the calculations again, and it keeps on going until you get it right. That's what I mean. Sorry if I. It's all good.
You're fine.
Okay.
We've got about 5 or 10 minutes left in this room if anybody has questions or
What?
anything.
I had a question. You guys said something about they had the graphics for GTA 6.
The graphics?
Graphics.
It kind of, but
Well, like if I kind of let me take a guess. Like if you're talking about like how the graphics in some games look better than others.
Yeah, that
but,
has to
like,
do with bits.
But that and you have to think about this. Okay, like let's say you get a game where your whole world of walking around the game is just this one room. You can make this one tiny room super detailed. You could focus on every chair if you wanted to, and I'm sure it'd take a long time, but you could do it. But then think about this: the GTA world is basically a whole city and then some.
It's pretty much the United States. And then some.
But basically, this means that means either a group of people or somebody had to sit there and draw and go in graphics and make each of those little ledges that you see, each of those little roadblocks, each of that line, that railing right there, they had to graphic that in, and then they had to program it to make your car stop when you hit it. Every bit of that world had to be made, and if it's a massive world like that, you can't put
Like
massive
one of those
amount of
free
detail
worlds,
in.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, like Skyrim and all that stuff. You can't put massive amount of detail in just that one rock right there, because you have millions of others to go. This would mean the game would take
forever to load.
Yeah.
And because of that before, there was the limitations of they split areas off and they made separate
that's
rules. But
right.
now that there's enough processing
Like-
power to at least make a full world.
Does anyone remember, say, Mega Man, old Mario?
Yeah.
Yeah, people like Pac-Man, and like early games. Those were, what was it, Jonathan? 8-bit, right? Right, Jonathan?
Just about.
They were low bits. Bits are like,
bits is the best way to say what.
How much you can put on the screen all at once?
Yeah.
How much the game
Before it
is
starts
actually
going-
running
But
before it
see,
overflows.
this is the best part about working with that kind of stuff, is you can actually trick computers into thinking that they can put more on the screen than they can. Like there's this documentary that you can look up on the making of Doom, and it's actually a pretty good one to watch if you want to get a game developer, if you're a game developer.
wait. If you look back, there's a little screen back there, and it keeps on showing the same background of lines flashing constantly. That's repetition at work. Because without those, it would just be one line just not moving. Because it would just do it once, not move. What I was saying earlier about the whole
I'm in room
bits
20.
and all that, I've learned a lot about that because of
I don't know
well,
yet. I'll
just
call you in a
going on
minute.
YouTube pretty
In a
much
few
every day.
minutes. We're almost wrapping up. We've only got the room till
yeah,
3:30.
Jonathan, what
It's
were you saying?
like knowing what was like from past games to future games now. You should be knowing that, because that's very important. That way you know mistakes that were done and things that were messed up, and you won't make the same mistakes again. You know.
Yeah. Know your history.
Everyone. Now, we only have, say, 3 minutes left. 3 minutes? How about we have a little bit of fun? How about we all just have a bit of fun? I mean, we're all sitting here, we're all tired from walking around in the Comic-Con. How about we just have some fun? How about you guys ask us questions, or we could do a quick trivia thing? How about that? Want to do that? How about show of hands of who wants to keep on doing coding stuff? Show your hands.
Oh, we got 1, 2, 3.
3, 4.
I don't know.
Poll done? Is the poll done? Now, who wants to do like trivia on anything? Ding,
2, 3.
ding. Wait, you just said you wanted to do.
Hey.
Wait, you're messing up the polls.
I'll go on the others.
He's up for everything. He's up for everything.
We'll just take questions on whatever you guys want to take questions on. Right? How's that?
How about we have a bit of fun with it?
We'll answer to the best of our knowledge, which don't be surprised if it's limited.
Any question? I'm you, sir.
Are any of you active Unity developers, or are you mostly other?
No.
I do not use Unity that much because I haven't got into it yet. I am in Java and Flash. Because
Java can be used.
yeah, I know,
It can
but
be
it's just
questions on anything.
it's the main one I use.
Yeah.
I've used it a little bit, not that much at all, but I've used it. Just like a little. It's not. I haven't been using it for a long time either. It's just for like probably like 2 weeks at most. So.
And you normally use Unreal instead? Is that the one that you use?
Unreal's a bit. Unreal, even to program it, you need a pretty good computer.
Which I currently don't have, so no.
Which currently
Okay,
Microsoft
so-
don't get.
Yeah.
Wait, idea. Here's how it'll work. Someone asks a coding question, we answer it, and then we ask them a question.
If you want to.
Yes, sir.
You guys had are any of you guys like texture pack makers or graphic?
No.
I've always been more on the coding side because I'm a crappy artist.
Where are you going,
I
McFly?
mean, I
gotta get back to the future.
Bring me back one of those hoverboards, okay?
No, tell me all.
2016, we're supposed to have it by now.
Tell us how Trump turns out, or Hillary, because
No.
yeah, don't tell us about Hillary.
You lose either way, so.
Yeah, no, it'll go either way.
Because Donald Trump really talks about stuff.
She might win, or she might win because yeah, I don't want to go there.
Let's not go into politics, okay? Let's stay on
to go into politics.
Let's not do
Alright, let's just get back to coding.
Let's get back to coding and having a bit of fun,
As for your
okay?
question on if anybody's ever did texture packs here,
Does anyone have a coding question?
I mean, I've actually done some kind. I usually do some kind of artwork. I do a couple artwork pieces. I don't do like anything big at all. But I do work on some little stuff. I actually tried working on a character for a comic that my friends were trying to make up. So, what's up?
Sir?
May I come up there and
Sure.
Of
Come
course.
on, come up.
Yeah, 'cause
Come up. You have a ton of questions. I like you. You have a lot of questions and you question stuff. That is the
So
epitome
there were
of what
several
we
older
like.
people who started off getting
I mean,
up
that's
there.
the
Well, come on up.
That's the only reason making games. Do I need to put another line here
They got
because
up there and
things like
sharing what
this,
they know.
and my character's gonna be
Take a seat. Take a seat. I have your mic on for you. Does anyone have any other coding questions at all?
That includes you, big man.
Any others? Any other coding questions?
Come on.
Raise your
anybody
hands.
have any questions
They
about
actually have
texture
some people here
packs?
that work with
Anything.
and do Unity.
Anything coding.
Where's the best place to go find, free assets?
Unity.
Unity.
Unity's definitely the best.
Unity's good. Okay, so
Unity for free
no
assets.
more questions.
I think
No more
that's it.
questions.
Yeah, this isn't probably.
Let's have a bit of
All
fun
right,
now.
thank you very much.